Alright, shalom, all praises be unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rechakodash. Double honor unto the elder apostles, the elder bishops at Great Millstone who are well, and taught us his truth. Salutes to all you Archeum. Right now, this is continuing on. We're in Genesis chapter 17. And let's just get into it. Quick commentary on this chapter. And it says, and when Abram was 90 years old and 9, meaning 99 years old, the Lord Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, it says here, I am God Almighty, walk before me and be thou wholehearted. And in the King James there, it says, and be thou perfect. Okay. You've got the Assyrian script on the left. You can see where it says Lord. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the fourth line down. All right. For your understanding, reading from right to left. Okay. You can see the name Yahweh there, right? But the Lord introduced himself to Abram as God Almighty, all right, which would be Allah Shadia, okay, Allah Shadia, right? Allah meaning God, power, judge, power, right? And Shadia meaning terrible, great, power, all right, terrible power, demon-like power, if you will. Okay. I don't get tripped out by the word demon. It just means in intelligence, but a great power, terrible power. In fact, we can pull that in here in the blue letter. Now, the small hats, they would say El Shaddai. Okay, El Shaddai. Hold on a second. God Almighty. Okay, look, for God here, 410, H410, L. Alright, but really it's Allah. Okay. It says here, God, godlike one, mighty one, angels. Alright. So, you've got the top power, the top spirit. Right? Oh, on the NLT, it actually says it. Look to the right of the screen. I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Right? Okay. So the NLT actually puts the so-called Hebrew in there, El Shaddai. Right? Let's go to the word Shaddai, which really is Shadia. Right? Almighty, most powerful. Okay. So the most powerful, the most terrible, the greatest of powers, right? So it says here, and said unto him, I am God Almighty, or Allah Shadia, walk before me and be thou wholehearted or perfect. Okay. And I will make my covenant. And by the way, Abraham knew the name of the Lord. You can read in chapters, it speaks about, by his name, he was not well known, but they knew the name Yahweh. Okay, but that name wasn't being used or exalted in the earth at the time. Okay, he was known as more so as God Almighty, Allah Shadia. Okay, right. So when it concerns language, calling on Allah is biblical, right? But what is the name of Allah? What is the name of the God or the power? All right. Just like Yahweh Shai on the cross, he called on Allah. He said, Allah Yah, my power, my power. But he also manifested the Father's name before the brethren, as it says in the scriptures in Psalms 22, I believe. I will magnify thy name amongst my brethren. Okay. And then in John 17, he said it, I manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me, right? So Allah is all well and good, but what is the name of Allah? What is the name of the power, right? The Most High. His name is Yahweh. And as it says here in verse 1, and when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord, as you can see in the Assyrian script here, right? Maybe that will come up on the screen. That's the word for Lord. Okay, Yahweh. Okay. And it says, and I will make my covenant, verse 2, between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And the covenant was made for a specific line. Alright. Abram, whose name was changed to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because you've got other lines that come out of Abraham, but the covenant was established with a particular line. Okay, you've got Abraham, Isaac, Esau. Right? You've got was it the 6 sons by Keturah? Okay, you got Ishmael. That came out of Abraham. But the chosen line of covenant and agreement to be brought near unto the Most High Yahweh, ultimately through his son Yahweh Shai, is via the line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? Because Jacob had his 12 sons, right? Which would go on to establish the 12 tribes. Right? Jacob's name, Yaakov, was changed to Yasharallah. Okay? And it says, and Abram fell on his face, meaning he prostrated down to the ground. He didn't actually fall. He prostrated his face to the ground, got on his hands and knees and prostrated his face upon the ground in reverence and worship and fear. Alright, and it says, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of a multitude of nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but shall be Abraham, or Abraham, for the father of a multitude, right? Of nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee. So nations would come out of him. Again, was it Ishmael? He was sent away with gifts. Yashamayallah, he is heard of the power. Like, yeah, okay, cool. You are the son, but you're not the chosen son. He was sent away with gifts. And to this day, they're well-off people, right? They're of Abraham. But it says in verse 7, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee. The covenant, and it says, and thy seed after thee throughout their generations. All right? Not seeds, but the seed, because there was a specific seed, a specific son in whom the line of agreement would be made. Okay? Again, Isaac unto Jacob and his 12 sons, making the nation of Israel. Okay? When it says nations of thee, that also speaks to the tribes. Okay? Each tribe is like a nation. Right? But altogether, all 12 tribes under one umbrella, the house of Israel. Alright? Bayath Yasharallah, right? Is the chosen nation. Okay? And it says, and for an everlasting covenant to be a power unto thee and thy seed after thee. Okay, again, not seeds, but seed. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land of thy sojournings and all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their power. And the Most High said unto Abraham, and as for thee, thou shalt keep my covenant, thou and thy seed after thee throughout their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every male among you shall be circumcised, and he shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of a covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every male throughout your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any foreigner that is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with money, must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, thou shalt be, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name, and I will bless her, and moreover I will give thee a son of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Right? Meaning the tribes. Okay? Each tribe is like a nation. Right? Altogether, the nation of Israel, kings of peoples shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? Right? Because she didn't have children, she previously barren and, up in age. And Abraham said unto the Most High, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. So Abraham didn't quite understand that the covenant had to go through a specific line. He was like, well, was it the handmaid Hagar, Ishmael came through, because as a man, no matter your age, you don't stop producing sperm, so even though Abraham was up there, he was still able to lie with the handmaid and have a son. He was a lot younger, and it says in verse 19, but the Most High said, nay, but Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. All right? And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, for his seed after him. So clearly there, even though Ishmael was established as a son of Abraham, he wasn't the chosen seed. The chosen seed of covenant was to go through Isaac. And the Lord commanded, Abraham to name him Isaac, because he laughed. And then Abraham laughed at the idea, and then when he told Sarah, she laughed, right? The name Isaac, Yetazakak, meaning laughter, right? And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee, right? Which was an omen nomen, right? Because the name Ishmael in Hebrew is Yashamayala. Yah meaning he, Shammai meaning to listen or hear, Allah meaning power or God, ruler, right? Judge. So Yasham, we put it all together, Yashamayala, meaning he is heard of God. Not meaning that the Lord hears him onto covenant. It's like, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Like, okay, I'll give him some stuff. He'll be set up. He'll be good. He's your son. He'll be nice. He'll be sweet. But he ain't the son of covenant. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he begat, and I will make him a great nation. So the Lord set him up in a good way. Like, yeah, I hear you. That's cool. Ishmael will be okay. Verse 21, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear unto thee at the set time the next year. You know, so when the Lord told Abraham that, you know, he obviously slept with Sarah, you know, and this time a year ahead, that same time, you know, in a year advance, you know, she brought forth her son, Isaac. And you left him off talking with him, and the power went up from Abraham, right? So I'm going to leave it there, and in the next one, I'm going to continue from verse 22, right? Or verse 23, okay? So with that, Barak Thayahal Basham Yahshai Basham Rakal Kodash. Shalom.